This story is something you definitely don't want to miss. Imagine walking through Paris in the late 19th century and spotting the majestic Eiffel Tower looming above, the symbol of love, innovation, and architectural grandeur. Now picture, if you will, that same iron icon, but instead of its raw, steely beams, it's decked out in massive, colorful advertisements for cough syrup or canned goods. It may sound like a bizarre dystopian concept, but believe it or not, this was almost a reality during the early years of the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower was originally unveiled in 1889 as the pièce de résistance of the Exposition Universelle, or World's Fair, held in Paris. Designed by Gustave Eiffel and his engineering team, the tower was met with polarizing opinions. Critics called it an eyesore, threatening to petition for its removal. Yet, as years passed, the tower became a beloved symbol for both Parisians and global travelers alike. However, what many don't know is that this love affair very nearly ended before it truly began. The Eiffel Tower was initially built under the agreement that it would be dismantled after 20 years. Yep, the iron giant you see on postcards and fridge magnets today almost didn't make it through the 20th century. As the clock on its lease ticked down, Gustave Eiffel himself realized one vital detail. If he wanted to save his masterpiece, he had to prove its practical utility. So here's where the story takes an unexpected twist. Eiffel originally safeguarded the tower through inventive applications, like using it for wind studies and as a radio transmission hub. But those weren't his only options. In one of the more, shall we say, creative proposals to safeguard the tower, an idea began to surface, turning the Eiffel Tower into a massive advertising space. Enter the influential French company, allied with American advertising groups, looking to skyrocket their brand recognition across Europe. Around the early 1900s, an audacious idea came forward, leasing the Eiffel Tower as a gigantic billboard. Imagine a four-sided iron monolith rising 300 meters and plastered with gargantuan posters of products like Michelin tires or Absinthe Pernod. Anything could have been advertised. This idea, controversial as it was, gained traction amongst business moguls who found the tower's height and visibility in Paris absolutely irresistible. But let's get into the fascinating details. Imagine if this plan had gone through. Parisians and tourists coming near the Champ de Mars would look up and see slogans and brand names, not an image of timeless elegance, but corporate messaging, targeted squarely at them from above. Sources suggest that Gustave Eiffel met the proposition with obvious skepticism. Though he understood the power of innovation, advertising on such an iconic landmark went against the artistic spirit in which it was designed. Yet, desperate to preserve the tower, the idea lingered for years. Outside of practicality, this proposal made people furious. Many labeled the idea of advertising on the Eiffel Tower as cultural vandalism. Critics emerged from the Parisian art scene, as well as public officials who argued that commercial exploitation of their landmarks would tarnish their city's reputation. Imagine the Louvre hiring out the Mona Lisa to sell toothpaste. It had that kind of scandalous reaction in its time. Interestingly, early mock-up sketches offer glimpses of what this ad-studded Eiffel Tower could have looked like. Companies brainstormed using large cloth banners and luminous lights powered by newly invented electricity to create vivid nighttime displays. Pause for a second and imagine that. Paris at night, now the city of lights, might instead have been known as the city of neon signs, with its centerpiece acting as the literal pinnacle of product placement. Yet, Gustave Eiffel, as history shows, never gave in to these commercial temptations. Instead, he focused on his experiments with radio transmission. During this pivotal turn, the tower proved instrumental in receiving and transmitting some of the earliest wireless signals across vast distances. This pioneering application cemented its value well beyond the scope of mere aesthetics or public relations. Soon, the military and scientific community began to see the Eiffel Tower's immense potential, a fact that overshadowed any fleeting idea of turning it into Paris's version of Times Square. By 1909, the tower's fate was sealed, its lease extended indefinitely, not as a billboard, but as an emblem of progress and innovation. However, the flirtation with corporate advertising wasn't entirely futile. It planted the seeds for modern skyscraper advertising as we know it today. But luckily, this stroke of commercial ambition spared the Eiffel Tower itself. Had the advertising scheme gone through, the Eiffel Tower may never have attained the iconic status and grandeur it holds today. Who knows if it would have simply become dated, a monument drowning in the passing whims of commercial trends. Instead, it stands now as a nearly untouchable piece of the world's cultural and historical fabric, a reminder of innovation and one man's refusal to compromise artistic integrity for short-term gain. So, next time you find yourself gazing at the Eiffel Tower, remember this overlooked chapter of its history. It was almost a cautionary tale of what happens when art and monetization collide. Do you think this showdown between creativity and commerce was decided for the better? Would the Eiffel Tower have endured as a brand-smothered monolith? Or did Gustave Eiffel's defiance preserve its true legacy? At least one thing's for certain. The Eiffel Tower remains not just a structure of steel, but a monument to ingenuity, resilience, and a firm belief in art as something far greater than commerce. And that, my friends, is why this gem from history is so incredibly precious.